Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this is gonna be a raw video and a good one to watch if you're really particularly struggling right now because I want to just speak truthfully about some of the most difficult aspects of this journey aside from symptoms. And I've talked about it before on this channel, all of the layers to this horrific journey, and this is going to be another one. I've talked about gaslighting before, I've talked about the spiritual aspect, I've talked about the isolation and stuff, but I want to talk about a recent experience that I had today, actually. And this all ties in together because of this layered experience that I'm talking about. And I still struggle with the trauma of all of this in some ways. And I don't feel traumatized day to day like I used to, but I still can be triggered. And I was triggered today pretty badly. And I want to explain what I mean by that. And I am wearing my headphones again. My neighbors are super annoying. They have a baby and a big dog, and they come alive at night, and they just annoy me. So that's why if the microphone is too hard to hear, let me know. But I wore it in my last two videos, and nobody said anything about it. So hopefully this is okay. So, one of the things that happens to us when we're in this journey or on this journey is seeking answers. And it's a supernatural thing to do, not supernatural, because something's wrong and you want to fix it. And that is human nature. It's just intuitive for us to do that. And it can lead us down a bunch of rabbit holes and add to our fear. And you go to the doctor, you get gaslit, but you know something happened. It was either after you took a dose, increased a dose, reduced a dose, tapered, cold turkeyed, whatever it was, you know that that's when something changed for you. And social media can really contribute to this in a negative way because if you scroll on a platform, say like Instagram or TikTok, you've got every Jane Doe on there with some answer to a health problem. Here's what they do, here's what they're selling, or whatever. And I'm sure they have good intention, but we are so misunderstood in this community. And so I don't want to divulge too much information, so I'll give you a general story of what happened to me today, but enough context to understand. So I do social media management now and virtual assistant work. I've shared that, and that's what I'm doing. And I recently took on two new clients, and one of them is in the healing space, I guess I'll say. This person is someone that is a trained naturopath, which I love and align with because it's the natural, it's not a pharma thing. And I love that. And this person also does things like biofeedback and brain work and sort of alternative therapy work. I'll just kind of leave it at that. And has really high tech equipment that can scan the body and do all of these things. And even though I did not ask for a session or an appointment of any kind, this person insisted. And I really struggled over it for like a week because I didn't want to give a bad impression because this is a new working relationship, probably a month old. But it felt like a crossing of a boundary just because I mean, I don't want to be divulging necessarily all of my health stuff and all of my struggles that I've had in my past, and this is a holistic healing person. And so but I prayed about it, which if you've watched my spiritual videos, it has taken me a very long time to come back to a place where I can even pray at all after what I've went through from these drugs. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you'll know that I really struggled with not only my faith through this, but also what was causing my symptoms particularly. I mean, akathisia can feel like, to me, it felt like an entity like trapped in my body that's trying to pulse its way out, paired with all of the mental torment that I went through. I had lots of people tell me throughout my journey that it was a spiritual attack. And I come from a religious Christian background. And so this terrified me. So when I was at my worst in 2021, I mean, I saw four different pastors from different churches. I mean, I was anointed with oil. I explored demonic oppression deliverance on the internet. I was going to pay random people that I've never met before to like expel the entities out of my body. And something stopped me, thankfully, because I mean, I don't know these people, and I'm sure they might be good intentioned and have special gifts, but I was too vulnerable and traumatized to go through with that, so I never did. But the praying and anointing was enough for me, and it made no difference. And I've talked to people in this journey who have had full blown exorcisms, and it's not helped them. So, anyway, back to today. So, I'm meeting with this person, and lovely. Like, I want to say, absolutely lovely person. Lovely. But it did feel a little uncomfortable. Not to the point where I said, okay, I don't want to do this, because I was interested. One of the things that, as a social media manager, it's really important to me is to get to know the person and their business really well, because I'm a much more effective social media strategist when I have really detailed information about how they help people. That's how I speak to their audience on social media, is by knowing what they do exactly. And so I have other clients I've worked with that have been semi-local to me that I've met and had treatments from, and it's given me more insight into what they do and how they help people. So I thought, well, this will be no different. Maybe it'll help me. It should help me to be more effective in helping her in this way. And so and I'm the type of person where obviously I'm a talker. I like to share. I'm very open. And so I'm comfortable for the most part sharing with people what I'm going through in my life. I'm just an open book. I'm very comfortable talking about most topics. But because of the dynamic of this relationship, and because I don't know this person very well, I was just like, it was a struggle, because on the one hand, I wanted to share, and on the other hand, I wanted to pull back, because I'm like, is this something I want to do? Because I still have that, like, some level of trauma about all of this. And because I went down so many rabbit holes in trying to fix myself for so many years, I didn't want this to become another version of that. But I tried to be open-minded, and so gave her some health history, and she was like flipping through all these pages, and she had me hooked up to this like machine, this biofeedback thing, and all of this stuff was coming up, like parasites, and it was insane how much information she actually knew about me before I told her. So then I was thinking, okay, obviously there's some legitimacy to this. I don't fully understand exactly what she does. She has all these different sort of healing modalities. But I tried to be open and tried to be kind, but it was in self-preservation mode. Like, I could feel myself, I was tense. Like, my body was resisting. Like, I could feel it, and I maybe should have stopped it. But again, I'm probably just too nice, and I wanted to see what she does. And so it quickly got into trauma and layered trauma, and she started doing EMDR on me, and it was she was saying all these things that did pertain to me, like I said, but also were scaring me a little bit. And one thing that came up was entities. That was a word that she used. And in my religious trauma, for lack of a better word, brain, sorry, I was like absolutely, totally freaked out. And she was giving it specific words, like these entities. She was describing it in word, and it described the mental torment that I went through. But I was also really freaked out, because I had worked through that, and that was a very terrifying process for me in 2021 that I put to rest. And I decided in my intuitive, like in my gut, in my soul, that I'm like, I can't keep trying to fix this. I mean, I tried the GAPS diet. I took hundreds, maybe not hundreds, but of different supplements, but definitely at least $1,000 worth of supplements. I tried all of these alternative therapies. I had craniosacral therapy done. I had all of these different tests done and saw naturopaths and saw acupuncturists and you name it. I tried it, and I finally was just like, this is not working. It's making me more afraid. And I just have to trust the people that have healed before me that this is going to get better for me. And it did. And today brought up so much because what was revealed to me was that I had all of this layered trauma that needed to be chipped away at, and some of the root causes of some of my total health, because I have many other health problems than what happened to me, besides what happened to me in withdrawal. And so just getting into that, it was very traumatic for me. I'm not going to lie. I broke down. I started crying, and I left that interaction perplexed, terrified, and confused. And I had a conversation with my mom about, like, my head was just spinning because it brought up trauma. It in multiple ways because of the entities thing, the fact that I questioned the root cause of what was going on with me after the drugs for so long and how to fix it, and then saying, okay, there's still this in your body, there's still this virus, this parasite, this, and it brought back so much of what I went through throughout this journey. I'm just going to splice this in because I forgot to mention this in my video, but this also, to me, demonstrates what I went through today, demonstrates how little knowledge people have about what happens with these drugs. And I did divulge that because she asked me, what are your diagnoses? What have you been through? And I said, I had an adverse reaction to psychiatric drugs. I went through a harrowing experience. Is that the right word, harrowing? And just horrible, all these neurological symptoms, more diagnoses slapped on. It was, yeah. And I told her, I called it OCD, and I talked about what I had before versus what happened to me after the drug, how it changed. And it just goes to show that people just don't understand these drugs. And that's why you'll often, from doctors, they'll say it's the reemergence of your original illness. And then even functional medicine doctors and naturopaths tend to sort of tunnel vision on latent viruses and other chronic conditions and autoimmune responses and inflammation and all of those things. And they just don't get it. And that can really confuse you. Even a long-termer like me, I can still every once in a while question, like, is that what it was? Was it entities and now they're still there, but they're like dormant? Like, and then it was just driving me crazy. And yeah, it was awful. And like I've said before on this channel, it's so much more than just drugs, tapering, symptoms. There's gaslighting, there's isolation, there's losing family, friends, income, jobs. There's people not understanding what you're going through. It's invisible illness, it's chronic, it's misunderstood, it's questioning, making you lose your faith in God, questioning the source of this. What happened? I think especially if you're someone who maybe originally did okay on psychiatric drugs or even well on them like I did, and then further down the line suddenly had all these symptoms either after you came off, or maybe you like tried to reinstate like me and it blew up and you're just like, what happened? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And so that's why you just search and search and search, like, what is wrong with me? And I'm sure many people on the internet that will say this is mold toxicity, this is chronic Lyme, this is latent viruses, this is Epstein-Barr, there's so many things. This is long COVID, and I've shared on this channel how some of those things, a lot of those things have overlapping symptoms to withdrawal. So I've questioned what is actually going on. Are we different from those populations? Like, why do we have similar symptoms? Even those people never took drugs, but they talk about pacing, they talk about ear ringing and internal vibrations and burning skin. And what is going on? Is there an underlying cause besides just the drugs? I've gone down all those rabbit holes on this channel, And I still don't have the answers because not this is the most perplexing thing I think that can happen to someone. I don't know. Most other chronic things have some level of understanding, but this doesn't seem to make any sense at all. The same symptoms that can happen when you stop the drug is what can happen when you have an adverse reaction to the drug. You can do really well on the drugs for years, and then they suddenly turn on you. I mean, I don't really get it, and that's what this channel is about. Is just exploring that and trying to kind of talk it out and figure out different avenues to healing and kind of making it make sense when it doesn't make any sense. That's what I do on this channel. And I wanted to say that, like, so what kind of got me through my day after this happened to me was, okay, my mom said to me, we kind of tried to pull it apart, but then she said, what, like, use some discernment. Like, what is your intuition telling you? What do you feel? And this is what when I coach people, that I would tell them, like, there's intuition in there. And a lot of times through everybody's fear and symptoms, they'll say something like, but I know. And that's what you need to listen to. Because again, you have doctors saying this and family and friends saying this, and you have people on social media saying this, but I feel like, even if you don't understand it, like something changed when I took the drug. Because people often will question to me, do I suddenly have mental illness? Do I have one of these other chronic conditions? Do I have? And I always try to break it down into, let's think about it in the most simple terms possible. When did it happen? Even though it's complex, and I say that, so I'm not trying to contradict myself, it is complex. Like, I don't understand the physiology, but just on a basic level, what did you have before? What do you have now? When did it change? That kind of thing. And so I kind of just went inward tonight. As much as I was freaking out a lot throughout the day, like, my mind just got stuck on, is this really entities, and was it all along? And what does that mean? Because for my Christian background, it means possession. It means evil. It means, and like I said, that's a traumatic trigger for me, because I went through so much of that in my withdrawal. People telling me this, and just I went down that, and it paralyzed me with fear for a very long time, and I had to work through it over a long period of time, and it totally got re-triggered today. And I said to my mom today, after I really looked inward, I'm like, no, after I took those drugs is when it changed. And it wasn't when I took the drugs the first time, but it was when I came off them the first time, and then I reinstated and it got worse, and then I came off the reinstatement and it got even worse. What is the common denominator? It's the drug. The timeline is just too coincidental for it to be anything but the drug. And I did have mental health problems before the drugs, but it is not comparable to what happened to me after. And so if you're struggling with that piece, and I still have people reach out to me almost every day and say, but what if? What if it's this? What if it's this? What if it's this? And that's where I try to really peel it apart. And although I don't have all the answers, again, it's trying to figure out, when did this happen? When did it start? What were things like before compared to now? And people can, as they kind of talk it out, they're kind of answering their own question. But they have to really, because they get so lost in their thoughts and in all of the information flying at them, that they can't really decipher what's what. And my mom had to help me through that today. She really did. And I'm still uneasy about it, and I don't know what to do moving forward about this working relationship. If I'm just being honest, I don't know how to address it, because I don't want to experience that again. And this person is absolutely well intentioned, but I'm not comfortable doing it again. For reasons I just described. I mean, this experience, it's like your life gets split into two, before the event and after the event. And even though after the event doesn't remain horrible forever, it is a traumatic event. It is, and most people would know that. And even when you feel better in your day-to-day life, you can still be triggered. Do I get triggered very often now? No. But I do sometimes, and that's just the truth. I think that's the truth with any trauma. And so you're definitely not alone. You're not crazy, as much as you're potentially and probably getting gaslit and questioning your own reality. You know the truth. Most people that I talk to, no matter how distressed they are, when they start to to calm down a little and you really help them talk through it, they know. And I need to remind myself of that today. But I just wanted to share that because I'm sure a lot of you are maybe right in the middle of this right now, where you're like, you're being pulled in so many different directions by so many different people, well-meaning people. Not everybody's well-intentioned, but a lot of people are, especially that are close to you, likely. And they're trying to figure this out too, because they probably can see a change in you and don't understand it. They understand it even less than you. And you don't even probably understand it really, but you know something changed and you know when it changed. And so try to really look, and sometimes you need a third person or another person to pull that sort of out of you and help you to process that and work through it, because you can get so caught up in your head and in what other people are telling you. And I'm still vulnerable to that, obviously, and I don't want to go down that path anymore, because even though I still have health issues that could probably be worked through in some ways, I am traumatized by trying to figure my body out because of what I went through for 4.5 years after I quit these drugs both times. And it's something that I never want to feel the way that I felt in those years ever again. And I felt that today, and it was horrible. It was hard for me to function. I feel very calm and relaxed now, but I didn't most of today. And yeah, it's something that like I said, I still have to be cautious of. And I've kind of just come to my own, I've made peace with how I approach things now, which is I try to build like a good base where, I manage my diabetes as best as I can. I eat as healthy as I can without fearing food and trying to really label it like toxic, poisonous, and good, because the way my brain works, it will latch on, and it can cause anxiety in me, and then it almost becomes this orthorexia where I can become afraid of ingredients and afraid of foods, and I just don't want to live my life in fear anymore, especially now that I feel better from the symptoms. I just don't want to live my life like that. So I do the best that I can. I walk every single day, so I get my movement in, and I try to do some sort of spiritual practice. Sometimes it's just resonance breathing. Sometimes it's, excuse me, sometimes it's prayer. Sometimes I'm still too angry to pray. Sometimes it's just visualization, and sometimes it's just spending time with my daughter or just spending time with family, and in that, just kind of being in community and with people. And so that's kind of my basis, and I don't go down those sort of extreme paths. And I'm not saying that naturopathy or naturopath work or homeopathy or any of that is necessarily extreme, but when it's tied to trauma, it feels extreme. And I don't want to be thinking about parasites anymore. I don't want to be thinking about latent viruses. I don't want to be thinking about generational trauma. I don't. I went down all of those paths for years trying to fix my withdrawal and figure out the root, even though the drugs were either the root or the catalyst, or I don't know exactly what. I do think that these conditions are complex, but I think sometimes taking a sort of simple approach is best, because you could take the finest microscope and look inside every cell of your body and just try to fix it and try to fix it and try to fix it. But for me, at least, that was becoming a source of stress, which was making my fear response worse, which was making my symptoms worse. And I just couldn't get perspective. And maybe in the future, once, I don't know, my base is stronger in the sense that, I'm just more comfortable with maybe exploring trying to help my other health problems. But right now, I live my life, and yeah, my health could be better, but I'm nowhere near where I was a couple of years ago, unable to function and just living in mental hell every second of every day, and physical and neurological hell. And so I'm very happy that I have found that peace, and that's good for me right now. And revisiting all of those itty bitty things, just it brings a trauma response to me. And so, yeah, I don't know if this spoke to you or not, or if you can relate. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments. Are you sort of in that phase where you're trying to fix it? You're trying to figure out what's going on. You're trying to heal your gut. You're trying to detox. You're trying to do cleanses and parasite cleanses, and you're trying to figure out your food sensitivities and whether you have latent viruses and whether you have Lyme disease or whether you have, like, excuse me, autoimmunity. There's so many different things you can look at, and it can nearly drive you batshit crazy. It did for me. And yeah, I've come to a place where of acceptance and peace, and I'm not ready to go down any of those other paths again, at least for the time being. So let me know if this resonated with you and where you're at in your journey, and I'll see you next time. Bye.